Africa, Africa, we are the children of Africa. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. From Mauritania to Ethiopia, from Tunisia to Somalia, we are the children of Africa. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. Africa, Africa, we are the children of...
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome once again to another edition of the Community Showcase on ITV. I'm your host Muhammad Chinara. Thank you for joining us once again. With me in the studio, I have Hafiz Hassan Chinara from the Africa Muslims Agency, and inshallah we'll be discussing the pledge line coming up, as well as the Africa Muslims Agency's Ramadan program and all the projects they run for Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, with Ramadan on our doorstep now, in just a few days' time, Ramadan will begin. And we know a lot of people have started their preparations. The Huffaz have started their preparation for Taraweeh, and a lot of our mothers and sisters out there have started their preparations with filling up the freezers with savories and a whole lot of goodies for all of us to share in Ramadan. But also for us, it's important to remember those unfortunate people who do not have the luxuries that we have. And inshallah, in the next few minutes, Hafiz Hassan will be speaking to us regarding the campaigns that Africa Muslims Agency will be running for the month of Ramadan. Hafiz Hassan, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Community Showcase.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To the viewers, to yourself, Muhammad, and shukran for having me.
Hafiz Hassan, before we start with the program, if you can give our viewers a brief synopsis or the history of the Africa Muslims Agency.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Yes, viewers, I think it's just imperative. There's Africa Muslims Agency, Direct Aid International South Africa, commemorates 30 years of empowering humanity. I think it's just right in paying tribute to those who have started the organization and just acknowledge the achievements of the donors over the last 30 years. The South Africa office commemorates 30 years. This is our 31st year. But the organization as a whole, African Muslims Agency, is around for over 36 years, alhamdulillah. What does it mean commemorating 30 years of empowering humanity? It basically means providing dignity, providing relief to villages, to hundreds of thousands of individuals and villages across the continent of Africa and other parts of the world, providing water to those who had no source of water, providing a place to perform salah in various remote villages across Africa, providing self-sufficiency or giving an opportunity of self-sufficiency and sustainability through the various empowerment and repatriation programs that were conducted by the African Muslims over the last 30 years. Giving an opportunity to an underprivileged student to attain or to have a shot at education, whether tertiary or secondary or primary, and to become and achieve a level of education and go and practice and give back to his community. Responding to the hour of need to various areas across Africa and other parts of the world. That's some of the acknowledgements or the achievements of the donors. We say achievements of the donors because, Muhammad, it is through the generosity of the donors that the organization were able to do what it has done over the last 30 years and continue to do so, inshallah, moving forward. But let's take it back. Who started the organization? Who formed the organization? Where did it start? What was the vision? What was the aim? What was the objective? Alhamdulillah, the organization was formed by Dr. Abdurrahman Hamid As-Sumait, who came from the state of Kuwait. Rahimahullah, may Allah fill his qabr al-nur. Rahman, a medical doctor by profession, traveled a lot through Africa in the early 1980s. And on his travels, he witnessed the challenges that people were facing in Africa. He saw the need to provide water wells. He saw the need to provide education. He saw the need for da'wah when people were crying out for help and crying out for a place to belong to. Da'wah. Till today, still carrying on. He saw the need to provide clinics. He saw the need to provide, educational facilities through universities and schools. He saw the need to bring relief to families and villages across the continent of Africa. He was a visionary of note, a man who gave up 9 months of the year of his time in Africa and the balance of 3 months planning and raising the awareness, raising the funds, and then going back into Africa and putting those projects up, schools, clinics, water wells, etc. And alhamdulillah, over the last 30 years, you see the organization become one of the largest humanitarian organizations on the continent of Africa, with over 4,000 full-time staff, offices in 29 countries in Africa for the last 30 years, working full-time. One is responding to the hour of need, and two, bring sustainability to various areas. Bringing it closer to home, in South Africa, the organization was started in 1987 by a Malay, dear Muhammad Farid Nara, who, like Dr. Abdul Rahman, was a visionary, a man who gave up his life to the underprivileged, not only in South Africa, but to other parts of the continent as well. Both these gentlemen, if you go to anywhere in Africa, one of the individual brothers in the community was telling me recently, who told me a few years ago, and he reminded me a few days ago, he says, wherever he traveled in Africa, and he mentioned the name Muhammad Farid Chunara, people would know who he was. Not because he was a philanthropist, not because he was a person who mixed with, people of influence, but because he was a man who stayed with the underprivileged, who raised the awareness of the underprivileged and raised the funds and delivered on those projects in helping and empowering lives of communities across Africa, like Dr. Rahman said. So yes, the African Muslims, as you commemorate 30 years, we want to thank our donors. Because, like I said, it's through their generosity that we're able to do what we do. Over the last 30 years, a number of campaigns, initiatives, projects have been started. You have your seasonal campaigns, your winter, your Ramadan, your Udahiyah. You have your ongoing projects, which is like your construction of your water wells, your construction of your masajid, schools, clinics, seeing to the bursaries, seeing to the orphans, as well as a number of empowerment programs, repatriation programs that are ongoing, alhamdulillah. But there have also been new initiatives like our GRIP 3D project that we are doing in Turkey at the moment for the Syrian refugees and Lebanon. But we'll go, I think tonight we're focusing more on the Feed the Fasting campaign.
Now you mentioned in the intro to the show, we spoke about the preparations for Ramadan and how everybody is preparing in their own way for Ramadan. What do African Muslims Agency have in store for our viewers? What are the projects that African Muslims Agency run for the month of Ramadan?
We are coming to the days of Ramadan. Allah barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban wa ballighna Ramadan. We are in the days towards Ramadan. We make dua, the Almighty, let us see the month of Ramadan and take full benefit and reward from this month of Ramadan. You mentioned in your introduction, Muhammad, that already at home, you see your mothers, sisters, family preparing, the savories, getting the necessary food items, ingredients to make all the, delicacies and savories that you're going to have come the month of Ramadan. What about people in Africa? What about villages in Africa? We think about, the preparation that goes into this. But likewise, there are people in Africa who, for them, fasting is a normal way of life because of the challenges and the conditions they're living in. But they too also need to prepare for Ramadan. They also look forward to a hot, nutritious meal come suhoor time. They too also look forward to a hot, nutritious meal come iftar time. They're also fasting the entire day, observing the etiquettes of the fast. And come the time of Maghrib, they would also like to have the date or zamzam or milk or savory or hot meal or soup or nutritious meal to nourish their soul, because they have also observed their fast. So like how we're preparing for Ramadan, they too also need a hot meal come iftar and suhoor. So likewise, the pledge that it's coming up on ITV on the night of 15 Sha'ban, is to give the donors an opportunity to sponsor towards the Feed a Village campaign. Now, the African Muslims Eid Ramadan campaign entails the distribution of iftar suhoor meal boxes. That's for an individual to have iftar and suhoor, and that's a local project done across South Africa. You have the distribution of the Ramadan winter hampers. It will bring benefit to families. It provide them meals for the entire month of Ramadan, as well as warmth in terms of the blankets that are in that pack. But you also have a Feed a Village campaign. Remember, the African Muslims Agency have constructed over 6,000 masajid across Africa. Now, once we do a project, it's not just to build a project and leave it. you are now indebted to grow that village, to empower that village, to make it a sense of belonging, a home, a jewel of that area. And so come Ramadan time, we will have a feeding program, a dawah program, a hifz program. Come Udhiyah time, you'll have Udhiyah, teach the people of Udhiyah, what's it about. So it's not just building a masjid and asking people to perform salah, no, but there's a lot of other activities that take place at different times of the year to grow the education and the understanding of what we have to do as Muslims throughout the year. So likewise, that's where we will have the Feed the Village campaign at over 500 villages across remote Africa. And that's from the South Africa office only. Remember, like I said in the introduction, the South African Muslims Agency has offices in 29 countries in Africa. Now all these offices will have various programs, Ramadan programs at various parts of their localities or wherever they're situated. The South Africa office is focusing on 500 villages across Southern Africa, benefiting close to 1 million people with iftar and suhoor meals.
Hafiz Hassan, something that came to my mind now. I know in Ramadan, for us in South Africa, especially at our masajids, the sense of community that builds during Ramadan is so important, and it's something we all look forward to for the entire year. During the year, we're all busy, but in Ramadan, we're all together. Most of us make iftar in the masjid with our friends instead of our families also, but we're all together. So I think the importance of the masjid, having the people together, it brings in the sense of brotherhood, the sense of an ummah again.
Absolutely, Muhammad. You hit the nail on the head. Likewise, I'm sure, like as you mentioned, gave your experience of going to the masjid, breaking your fast with your friends and family. Similarly, in Africa, they would want the same. You think about the Haramain, Makkah and Medina, and you think about the environment, the ambience, the excitement, the ecstasy of going to the Haram with what little that you have, and the brothers calling you and everybody fighting to offer you a date and a milk and a yogurt. And you think of that feeling of, brotherhood, of sense of belonging, that there are fellow Muslim brothers there for you. You could go with nothing and you will come away with something. You think about Medina Sharif, you think about Makkah Mukarramah. Similarly, likewise in our homes, you go to the various masajid, and most masajid alhamdulillah cater for this, where they allow a few minutes to have your iftar, and all the brothers put their Tupperwares together, and your savories and your dates and your tea, and that feeling of sharing the iftar with your fellow Muslim brother. What about people in Africa? Think about the masjids that we built across Africa, the villages that were empowered with a masjid, but still do not have a means for iftar and suhoor. That's why we're asking the donors to sponsor now, before Ramadan gets here. So we could plan and get those ingredients or those items or those nutritious hot meals to those villages before Ramadan.
So basically, like how we're doing the preparations at home, the preparations for our less fortunate brothers throughout Africa will also take place before Ramadan.
Absolutely. Our office already earmarking the various areas. Like I said, over 500 villages will be benefiting through the African Muslims Iftar Suhoor program. And, that's what I'm saying. Give them the opportunity. So come iftar time, they could provide their young child or their elderly mother or the widow, with a hot meal. Or similarly, suhoor time, they could have hot meals, inshallah.
Hafiz Hassan, we're going to take a short break now. We'll be back after this break. Stay tuned.
Africa, we are the children of Africa. Africa, we are the children of Africa.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Community Showcase on ITV. With me in the studio I still have Hafiz Hassan Chunara from the Africa Muslims Agency, and before the break we spoke about the Ramadan program that the Africa Muslims Agency run every year. Hafiz Hassan, we spoke about the Ramadan program and all the different projects that you run. If you can tell us more about the logistics of the project, because it seems like a massive project that the Africa Muslims Agency do run.
Absolutely, Hafiz Muhammad. If you look at the areas we're working in, some of the localities are quite remote, absolutely remote. Through various shows, we always give an indication of what does it take to get to one of these areas. If, for example, to give you an idea, or the viewers an idea, if you're flying from here to Maputo to Kilimani, you take a 2-hour flight north. And from Kilimani, you drive 6 hours via 4x4 till you hit the gravel. From there, you go till the 4x4 cannot get any longer. Then you get onto a truck or you get onto a motorbike. And then you go until the motorbike cannot go any further. And then you get on a bicycle and then you start walking and then you get to your village. This is where the majority of the areas we're working in. This is where the African Muslims have built water wells, have built masajid, have built Islamic centers in these areas because of the remoteness and because of the need in these areas and not having the resources, not being close to a town or any place of infrastructure, and because of the lack of assistance that's coming to the area. The African Muslims area has decided to put its teams there throughout the year to build these projects. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, when we build these projects, the masjids, the Islamic centers, the boreholes, the water wells, etc., we are there to uplift that community, to make it a jewel of that area, to uplift generations that will come from that area, not only at that time, but for generations to come. Through education projects, to masjids, to homes, to madrasa class, whatever. But we are there to uplift that village, the community. So come Ramadan time, we are going to be doing an iftar suhoor program. So the donor who has sponsored a masjid through the African Muslims now has an opportunity, or that family now has an opportunity to contribute in that village or that masjid through the Ramadan program. Because you'll be feeding a village at that masjid. Now you talk about logistics. Remember, like you mentioned about preparation at home already with the savories and your food items, etc. Likewise, the organization has to plan the items to get to that village long before Ramadan starts. So come the first Ramadan, already you have your preparations in place, your meals and whatever other items that you need, your teams in place to facilitate and to deliver on the donors' niyyah and to ensure that those fasting people have a suhoor and iftar come the first of Ramadan.
Now, what type of meals do we give the donors? What meals will they be getting for iftar, for suhoor during the month of Ramadan?
If you break down the Ramadan campaign, you have the iftar suhoor meal box and the Ramadan winter hamper. If you look at the contents of that Ramadan hamper and the iftar suhoor meal box, nutritious items that's sufficient, for example, the iftar box for an individual, for iftar and suhoor, to nourish their soul for the day. You look at the Ramadan hamper, it's a wholesome hamper. Obviously, you have your items to keep you warm because Ramadan being winter, so you have your blankets. But you also have your oil, your nutritious items, your rice, your sugar, your flour, a fully fledged hamper for a family for the month of Ramadan. You talk about Feed a Village campaign. Now, because of the challenges of the where people, they need good nourishment. You find a lot of children being malnourished. You find children suffering from malnutrition. So you need to ensure that the diet is adequate, not just a meal for iftar and suhoor, but a nourished meal. And so we put a lot of care and planning into what we give at these areas. And if you look at most areas, you find that these villages don't have meat throughout the year. The only time they'll have meat is either Ramadan or Qurbani time. So come Ramadan time, we give a lot of protein in terms of meat, but also you have your rice, your soup, your staple diet of the locality, because you're just giving them something that they don't eat. So you give them something that they would want, but it's a nourished meal and a wholesome meal that keeps the soul nourished for the entire day, alhamdulillah.
Now, we know in Ramadan a lot of people do give out their zakah. So for these hampers and for the projects, can people give zakah, or is it lillah sadaqah, or is zakah also can be given for this?
Zakah, lillah and sadaqah is accepted for the Feed the Fasting campaign in South Africa, as well as outside in the 500 villages we are doing our feeding. But we urge the donors to start donating now. Yes, we understand people, hold back the zakah for the month of Ramadan because there's more reward. There was one senior alim was saying that if you calculate your zakah to be, for example, 10 rand, give 7 rand in Ramadan and 3 rand outside Ramadan. Why? Because there are also people in need outside Ramadan. So to help the planning, to help those people to donate now, so we can have those meals ready. Yes, your niyyah for the month of Ramadan, for the first of Ramadan, or the first 10 days, or the second 10 days, make your niyyah. But donate now. So come Ramadan time, your niyyah, those beneficiaries will receive your charity, your donation, your generosity at the time that you intended for.
Now, Hafiz Hassan, inshallah, on the 12th of May, African Muslims Agency will be holding a pledge line on ITV. If you can tell our viewers more about this pledge line and what will be collected during this pledge line.
We're giving the donors, the viewers, an opportunity. Laylatul Sadaqah. On the night of 15 Shaban, night of emancipation, on the 12th of May at 20:30, which is a Friday evening, to tune into ITV and pledge towards the Feed a Village campaign. It's 3,500 rand to feed an entire village per day. You're talking about plus minus 300 plus people benefiting on one day. So you sponsor 3,500 rand. Every village has different dynamics, different demographics, different amount of people, but on average, you're looking at about 300 people benefiting on 3,500 people feeding an entire village for that day. So the viewers' opportunity to call in on the night of 15 Shaban on ITV, call in and pledge, and let us have those meals ready at those villages come before the 1st of Ramadan. So those people too, like we preparing for Ramadan, could also look forward to an iftar or suhoor meal during the, for the Ramadan.
You mentioned 3,500 rand. This is 3,500 rand is not a lot of money if you look at it to feed an entire village, and you're feeding them a good, nutritious meal. And in Ramadan, it's cold also in most parts of Africa, especially in the southern hemisphere. It's going to be very cold. Like if you just think about it, it doesn't seem like a lot of money, but the amount of goodwill that comes from that, and the amount of reward that people will get just for one day.
Absolutely. Muhammad, you talk about 3,500 rand and the benefit. One is you fulfilling your act of, your charity, your zakah, sadaqah, lillah. But you think about the benefit it brings to that individual. Alhamdulillah, Almighty has given us the means, and if you just think of us, come iftar time, you go, like you mentioned earlier, you go to a masjid, or you sit around the table, all your family members get together, different brothers, sisters, you come together and you share iftar meal after Maghrib Salah, and a sense of enjoyment and excitement, everybody's coming together. Also, the food is laid on the table, alhamdulillah, and you're enjoying that. But similarly, people in Africa would like to experience the same. They would like to experience iftar with their families, or with their village members, with the people from their locality, and have a meal that everybody can say, alhamdulillah, we had a good meal, nourished our soul till suhoor time, till our next meal. So 3,500 doesn't just bring a meal, but brings an entire experience to these villages. And think of the dua they make for you in the month of Ramadan. One is the dua they make general, but think of the dua they make for the donor in the month of Ramadan, and the reward we get, inshallah.
Also thinking about getting everybody at the masjid, it also brings about people will stay at the masjid waiting for Taraweeh Salah. Also the masjids become fully operational for like the whole day in Ramadan, and that's also another way for people to look at the reward they can get. You're having a masjid where people will be performing salah, reading the Quran the whole day, and the focal point of your village becomes the masjid.
Absolutely, you hit the nail on the head, Muhammad. It's not only the feeding. We have a hifz competition to encourage the recitation of Quran. Is the month of Ramadan is the month of Quran. To encourage the recitation of Quran, we have a hifz competition for the locality, for different villages. At the come Eid day, we hand out some gifts and prize giving for people who participate in these programs. We have a ladies program. We have dawah programs. There are many other activities taking place. Not only is the feeding, but many other activities taking place throughout the month of Ramadan. And we'll see, come the month of that, masjid becomes the focal point, becomes the place that everybody draws to from the time of Fajr, before Fajr, Suhoor, Fajr, thereafter, during the day you have different programs. Come iftar time, this environment, this excitement of the sun going down, azan being called. You think about home, when your children are asking, Abi, how many minutes left? Can I break my fast? And you think the excitement, they want to break their fast and they take the date. Think about youngsters in those villages. And the excitement, they look at the sun going down, they hear the azan being called, and now they're going to perform salah, and then they're going to have a good meal. And then go through the night with the different ibadah, with Taraweeh and other programs as well.
Something very important that came out in this last few minutes that we've been together is the sustainability of the project. It's not just building a masjid and then going there maybe 5 years down the line to see if the masjid is still there. But the importance is the sustainability and the masjid, the maintenance. And by having these programs at the masjid, it makes such a difference also that there's somebody not keeping an eye, but making sure that the masjid is sustainable for infinity, in fact.
Alhamdulillah, yes, it's driving activity, driving people to the masjid, connecting the locality to the masjid. You can have a masjid in the area, but if you're not connecting the people to the masjid, it's going to stand there. So you're connecting not only through salah, not only through madrasa, not only through feeding, but various other projects and campaigns that we do throughout the year, alhamdulillah. So yes, viewers, the night of 15 Shaban, call in on ITV, pledge 3,500 rand towards the Feed a Village campaign, and I promise you, it'll make a difference to the thousands of people who are waiting your generosity so they could have iftar and suhoor, inshallah.
Hafiz Hassan, besides the pledge line, how else can our viewers out there make contact with the African Muslims Agency to take part in this Ramadan campaign of the African Muslims Agency?
Contact our officers, our details on the screen, go to the website, get the information on the screen, or contact any one of our consultants. Request a consultant to come to your place of work or home, wherever you're comfortable, to explain to you in detail and show you pictures or show you information of where we're feeding, what it takes, how long it takes, what are we feeding, and who the beneficiaries are, and the impact you're having on the ground. Request that we offer that personal service to people around South Africa. So request that. Request the staff of the African Muslim come to your school or workplace, or just to share some of their personal experience in Africa. Alhamdulillah, we send all our staff, we try to send all our staff to different parts of Africa to experience and to see what's it like. It's no use working in an organization, but you haven't experienced the challenges people have in Africa. So alhamdulillah, a number of our staff have already been to Africa. Request a staff member to come to your home or school or business place and explain what they've seen personally, their stories, what they shared, what they experienced, the challenges they've seen, and the impact that the generosity of donors is making on the ground.
Hafiz Hassan, we've run out of time, but to our viewers out there, it's an appeal to the viewers out there. We've heard what Hafiz Hassan has said. We've heard what the African Muslims Agency have been doing for over 30 years in Africa and in South Africa. Now it's our chance. Let us pick up those phones tonight. Let us make that call to the ITV pledge line, the African Muslims Agency pledge line on ITV on the 12th of May at 8:30 p.m. And remember, a person who feeds a fasting person in the month of Ramadan, his sins are forgiven. So let us take all these things into consideration when we decide. Let us make that intention to support this pledge line. So inshallah, on the 12th of May at 8:30 p.m, the African Muslims Agency pledge line will be on ITV. So let's open our hearts, open our wallets, and let's see how we can help those less fortunate brothers and sisters of ours in Africa and in South Africa. But that's all the time we have for you this evening. For me and the rest of the team, have a wonderful evening. Fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Africa, Africa, we are the children of Africa. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. From Mauritania to Ethiopia, from Tunisia to Somalia, we are the children of Africa. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. Africa, Africa, we are the children